Well, hello and welcome to our webinar today, Cloud-Based Branches and Branch Mergers for GIS Collaboration and Version Control. I'm Anne Harper and I'd like to introduce today our sales engineer, Eli Chadwick, who will be doing most of the demo here. So today's webinar is the third in a series that we've done, introducing the cart functionality to coordinates. If you know it, cart is based on Git. You don't need to know anything about Git or cart to use the version control, but this is why we've built it into the coordinates UI. The point here is that Git is a super powerful way to manage code, and we have brought this code management this management based on Git to geospatial data. It's also why code management is so mature. Yeah, and it's also why this technology is so different to anything else on the geospatial market. So cart version control means that you can collaborate with other people all on the same data set. It means that you have a clear audit trail of the changes to your data set and can roll back at any time in the data set's history. Today, Eli is going to walk you through how it all works. Then we will have time at the end for questions. If you do have any questions, there's a little Q&A box on the bottom of your screen. Please hit that and throw any questions you have in there. We will endeavour to answer what we can during the session. Otherwise, we will follow up with you afterwards. Also, this webinar is being recorded and we will email the recording out to you next week. All of our recordings are also available on YouTube if you ever want to check that out. So, I will start by giving you a quick overview about cart and coordinates and then hand over to Eli. So with coordinates, you have all your geospatial data, including point clouds, vectors, grids. You load them into your coordinates cloud, and then your users can access them through their favorite ways, whether it be the portal site, we have a desktop app, the QGIS plugin, or they may be using APIs. Now here's distributed version control. So this is where cart and Git come into it. So you can clone down a repository onto your local machine and then work on it in your working copy. So that might be FME, QGIS, ArcGIS. Then when you've made your changes, you can commit those changes to your local repository and just keep your local copy up to date. When you're then happy with it, you can push it back up to your coordinates cloud. So I'll step through that again. How it works from the start is you have a site administrator will publish a data set off a repo. So this all happens in the coordinate site and is done by the site administrator. The contributors or your users, they're going to come along and they're going to clone the repo from the coordinate site onto their local machine. They're then going to edit and make all the changes that they want, and then they can push their own branch back up to the coordinate site where the administrator can choose the branches. So this is the key piece of the puzzle that we're going to run through today. The other key thing is you also can have multiple contributors all collaborating on the same data set. So many people, several branches, and they're all pushing it up to coordinates so that the site administrator is able to choose what order they merge them into the master copy. And then once the site administrator has merged the branches into the data set to make it completely up to date as they like it, they can then publish it out for everybody to use. So your contributors will come along and they will pull down all the updates. Cool. So at that point, I'm going to hand over to Eli so he can show you what it actually looks like.
Alrighty. So yeah, I'm going to step you through exactly what that slideshow was just showing and just explain what we're doing along the way. There's a few risky maneuvers. Hopefully it'll be sweet. This is a demo site. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the layout by now, but data button turns the data browser on and off. Map button turns map on and off. So whatever you're up to at the time, you can optimize your screen space. If you're an admin, you've got this manage button. That's where I'm heading. Takes you to the back end of coordinates. We do all your configuration type activities. So what I'm going to do essentially is we're going to set up a layer and then I'm going to clone it, make some edits in a branch, push the branch back up. Anne is also going to clone it and make some edits in a different branch, push that back up, and then I'm going to merge one of the branches back in and show how the auto publishing happens. So first step, grab some data. I want the North Island data, so I'm going to grab this geo package, open that up. You have to make sure you put it into a group that your other users have access to. So Anne and I are both in this admin group. Hit the upload button. This is copying it from my machine up to the site. Scan it, make sure all the geometries are all good. If not, we'll let you know. These should be fine, so just give that a sec. Cool, so that has passed all the tests. It's arrived up on the site. It's sitting in this upload area. This doesn't come off your data allocation, and we clean it out periodically, but it will be there for weeks. If I drill down into the geo package, I can find my data set that I'm after, and I'm going to do an import. It's found XML metadata, so it pulls a few things out of there to set up some bits and pieces. You can override them. I'm going to call this layer New Zealand Power. There's a bunch of different things I can set up here. I thought I'll just get straight to the point. Primary key is important. If you're going to be doing updates to the layer, we need a primary key so we can assess whether it's an insert, update, or a delete. And then we hit import. So that's going to start actually taking the data from that upload area and putting it into all our various databases. This will happen in parallel, so you don't have to sit here. I can jump back into the data set and have a look at how it's going. I've got a little progmon up here showing me progress, but a couple of things in here. The description that has been pulled or harvested out of the metadata. I can attach layers to this, and I can attach attachments, which is generally going to be a doc or a PDF describing more things about the data. When people download it through the front end, they'll get that zip as well in the zip file. Owning group set to admin. I could have assigned it to a category. Then on the front end, when you filter by categories, it will appear in that data set. We do support Creative Commons out of the box, or you can create your own licenses. And this is simply saying, I've set the primary key to this guy. So that looks like that has happened. Happy days. So now that data set will be sitting up here. If I filter by recently added, that guy should be at the top of the list. And it is. If I add that to a map, first thing to notice is this only has the North Island's lines in it. So what I'm actually going to do now is clone the data set down. I want to add the South Island lines and then push that back up in a branch. So to do that, we can get out of here, cruise on down to, I'm going to use the QGIS plugin to do this. It comes with, when you install the QGIS plugin, you get a coordinates plugin, which is essentially the same look and feel as the website. If I sort that by recently added, my New Zealand Power layer should come to the top. And it does. So I can either add that as a service, or I can do a get, which is what I want to do in this case. A get is a clone, so analogous to git clone, then the URL. But again, you don't need to know any of that stuff. You just simply say, I want this data, and I'm going to put it into a new repository, which is a folder, and I'll call that NZ Power. So now we hit the OK button. I can see the cloning up here. This is a small data set, is fast, should be fast. And that has now arrived down on my machine. So now if I flick back to the cart repositories plugin, I can see that my NZ Power has arrived. I can add that to a project, and I've now got those lines there. Before I forget, up here, this is showing me the repository. I can have multiple data sets in the repo. It's generally best practice to have one per, but you can really do whatever you like there. This guy over on the right here, main, that's telling me you're on the main branch. So if I go into this show log, which again is the same as going git to show, shows you the timeline. Because I just set this up, we've just got the original import. I'm going to right click on here and I'm going to say, create a branch at this comment. I'm going to call that South Island. So now I've got a new branch and it's at exactly the same commit point as main. Because I want to use the new branch that I've created, I'm going to have to say switch to branch South Island. So it's important to understand we're not duplicating the data here. This is just a different pointer, if you like, at the same data set. Any changes that I make in this branch will be stored in that branch. And then when you merge that branch back into main, those changes are going to get copied across to the main branch. So we're in the South Island. Happy days. If I go over here, that updates with you're on the South Island branch. I need some data. I've got a data set here, which I'll add to my project. So those are all the South Island lines. I essentially just want to append those to the New Zealand power layer. To do that, I've got a plugin which I grabbed off through the plugin manager. This simply says, I'm going to grab all the data from the source layer. They do have to be the same schema, which they thankfully are. And I want to plug that into my New Zealand power. But you could be doing any kind of edits you want in here. You could be manually inserting stuff or changing attribution or deleting things. If I hit run, that is done and it's saved. So you don't actually need to toggle the layer on and off for this particular plugin. It just does it. So now I don't need the South Island anymore. I can turn him off. I can see that I've got all the lines in my NZ Power dataset. So the next step is to head back up over to the repo. And if I right click there and we come down to commit working copy. So all the things I'm doing I'm doing them in a working copy. If I want to commit them to the repo, I need to hit commit. I'll give it a commit message. Something that makes sense. This will be stored in the timeline. So you want to give that a reasonably sensible commit message. Okay, so that has happened. Now, if I go back into my log, I can see that each of these is going to be a different commit as you go along making changes. So I've got my original import and now I've got my branch that contains the South Island lines. There's a bunch of things you can do in here if you right click. But I don't think I'll bother doing that right now, but you could do it. You can look at the changes that have been introduced. You can look at the geometries that have been introduced. Each of these is a line that I've just added. So you can do a sort of QA of that, make sure that what happened is what you intended for it to happen. But the way it sits right now, I have a branch sitting locally of this data set that I want to push back up to the site. And to do that, right click on the repo, come down here, hit push. The main branch I don't want to push. It's got no changes in it. I want to push my South Island branch. And this just is basically saying, push it back to where you got it from. And I hit OK. Little spinny thing. So now the changes have been pushed. The advantage here is that you're only pushing around the actual changes that you made. You're not pushing the entire data set around. So that can be beneficial and just happens way faster. If I head back up to the site and we look at what's happening in this New Zealand Power data set, firstly, the South Island lines have not come in. If I'd pushed those to main, then it would have auto republished, but I've pushed it in a branch. That is the whole point of this. You really want to have the ability to QA a data set or changes before you go and introduce them. So there's my main branch. It's got the original import that I did. So just a bunch of adds in the North Island. If I swap here to the South Island branch, I can see that I have added a commit here, which has got added the South Island lines. I can throw that onto the map and do a QA. So quick visual QA. Yes, everything's in the South Island. Coolio. So what I'm going to do now is stop sharing and pass it back to Anne, just to show you how many people can do it at the same time.
Oh, thank you. So I have the New Zealand Power layer here that Eli was just working with. So I'm going to clone that by hitting get. No, not that. So I'm going to then clone it down to my local machine and create a folder. So call that. There we go. And save. Cool. Now that's saved. I'm going to jump over, because I was in my coordinates tab, into my cart tab and add to QGIS project. Oh no, I don't want to do that. I'll just remove it because I'm going to create a branch. Remove layer. Okay. I'm going to right click on the repo up here, show log. And here I'm going to right click and then create a branch at this commit. So this is about creating my own one. So we're going to call that Anne. There we go. I've correctly created my branch, so I can close that down.
You
Now,
want to switch to your branch first, I think.
oh, thank you. Nice catch. So here, now that I have created my branch, we can see it says Anne. I'm going to switch to branch Anne. So this one down here. There we go. Correctly switched to us to branch Anne. Now I can add this to my QGIS project. And I'm going to make some changes to my branch. I'll do that by editing. There we go. I'm going to select, just imagine we're going to delete Taranaki here so that we can replace the features. So I want to take them out. I'm then going to save it. So that's saved to my local copy. I now want to commit it. So commit working copy changes for this data set. So it's going to change all those deletes. So I'm going to say removed Taranaki. Okay. Cool, so that's done. It's now committed and I want to right click on the repo up here. Oh, there we go. And you can see my change that I've done. I have edited my branch and I've removed Taranaki. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to now commit working copy changes. There we go. Nothing to commit. Oopsie.
Push.
Oh, push. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
There we go. And we can see the two branches that I could push to. I'm going to push to Anne and hit OK. Cool. So I can hand back to you, Eli, so you can see what I've done. There we go.
Sweet. Alrighty. So what's going on up on the site now? Jump into this. Quick verification, add it to the map. Absolutely nothing has changed to the layer. So the published layer is still published as at the time of initial ingestion or whatever point I last published it. I can jump into history. It will have nothing because I haven't made any changes yet. And if we now head on over to the repo, I can see a number of things going on here. So I can see that there are a couple of branches here. There could be as many branches as you required. You might have 50 staff doing 50 different changes to 50 different things. They all sit here. I can go, oh, I see Anne's done some work. What has she done? Have a look at the map. It says she has removed all of these. And if I look in here, I can see that there's been a number of deletes, which is great. And if I go back to my branch, I can again see that my stuff's still sitting there untarnished. But the whole point of this really is you've got people submitting branches to a repository. We want to be able to QA them visually, which I can do by get rid of Anne's stuff. I'll have a look at mine. It has all the South Island lines in it. I'm happy with that. So I want to get my branch merged into the main branch. To do that, I'm on the South Island branch. I'm going to say, let's do a merge. Because there's multiple, it's basically saying which one do you want to merge into. I want to merge it into main. There's a couple of messages down here. The South Island branch is one commit ahead of main. That's because I've done something that hasn't been merged yet. And the destination branch has a published data set. So what that means is merging this branch will trigger an automatic update and basically republish the published layer to reflect the changes that I've just merged in. So we're happy with that. Continue on. I can give some information here if I want to. And then we hit merge branch. So that says it has been merged into main. Now, if I go back to the back end, I should discover that my New Zealand power layer is now re-updating. That's that thing I was talking about. When you do a merge to main, we're going to automatically republish. There's a few things coming whereby you're going to be able to publish a layer off a branch. We've got a number of customers that do basically exactly that. So, yep, that will be an important thing that we're going to add back in. But for now, when you push or when you merge a branch into main, it's going to trigger a republish of the published layer. A lot of words in there, but I think you get the drift. So that guy's now happily republishing. While that's doing that, which it looks like it's going to do it relatively quickly. All right, so that's now done. If I come back up to the front end and we say, I can now say, show me all the recently updated stuff. That should have been pushed right to the top of that. Go into NZ Power. And first thing to note is the publish layer now contains the South Island lines. Cool. If I go into the repository view, I can see that I have merged my branch into main. I've got the information of what happened. So if there was a number of different commits in there, they would all be reflected in this timeline. So this gives you a full auditable history of what's going on. If someone now comes along and clones the layer, they'll get this history as well. A couple of other things that happen up here. I can do some cleanup. So my South Island branch, I don't need anymore. Can get rid of that. I could merge Anne's thing back in there too. So it's really up to you as you go along. You would do exactly the same thing that I was just doing. I could say, all right, we'll get on to Anne's. Let's merge hers in there by saying merge branch. Anne's got 3 commits ahead of main. That's all good. Put an extremely important message in there and say merge branch. There's a little warning here that the tip does not match the tip. That doesn't matter, so let's merge it anyway. And that is now merging back in. As soon as that's merged, I can come back in here and get rid of Anne's branch. You don't have to get rid of it. It's just nice to, if you don't need that branch anymore, you can get rid of it. And then if I go into the back end, I find that it's basically going through exactly the same process and doing its update. And so that essentially is what we wanted to show you today. It's there's a whole lot of other things going on there. Cart's long been able to do this. Essentially, what we're basically doing is we're getting the UI to catch up with the functionality that already exists in Cart. One of the notable improvements is merge conflict resolution. So when you try and merge something in and there is a conflict with that has been edited by someone else, you're going to have to pick a winner. Cart can already do that in a command line text type way. The app can also do it. This will be able to do it soon enough as well. So I'll stop sharing there and pass it back to Anne.
Cool, thanks, Eli. Yeah, we don't have any questions on that today, but thank you everybody for joining us. And as I mentioned, this is the third in a series because, as Eli just said, we are building more and more of cart functionality into the Coordinates UI, so there will be more to come on that. Yeah, so if you're interested in how coordinates could work for your business, please do get in touch with us. We can set up a demo and show how it would work best for you. For product updates and webinar announcements, please do follow us on LinkedIn or find stuff on our YouTube channel. Yeah, other than that, I hope you all have an excellent weekend out there.